Japanophiles.
Before we start this video off, I feel like I should preface this with a little explanation. This is the first in what I hope to be a series of videos. If you've gotten tired of just sitting around and hearing me talk for about 10 minutes on something, now you can listen to me and some other guy sit around and talk about a thing for 30 minutes. Fantastic. Anyways, the point of this series is to sit down and talk with people about some sort of Japanese media that they feel passionate about. I hope that each episode could focus on something different, not necessarily a movie or a TV show, but also covering manga and, of course, video games. But this being the first episode, there's obviously going to be some kinks in the system. So if there's anything about this that you think we can improve on, that being formats, graphics, or anything, please feel free to leave a comment so that we can hopefully improve in the future. This is a bit of a mix between a review and a podcast. It's not really a podcast because there are some visual elements to it. And it's not really a straightforward review because it's pretty much just a recorded conversation between me and a friend. I drew up these little cartoon characters to represent myself and my co-host here. This is because we live in two completely separate time zones. So I figured the best way to represent this conversation was to do it like this. This is something that I haven't really done in any of my other videos, so we're trying out new things here. If you like it, let me know. If you think it could be done better, let me know that too. So with all that out of the way, I will now let my friend introduce himself. So introduce yourself. Who is
I guess I'm Necropolis. That's better than the other one, because that one's all weird.
The
you have to
real name?
spell it. No, I mean, my real name is I'm Aaron. That's fine. Then I'm Aaron. It's not that I think I shouldn't say my last name. It's just that, like, what do you profit by learning my last name?
If any of you knew his last name, none of you would be able to pronounce it.
None of you would be able to pronounce it or spell it. It's ridiculous. So Necropolis is just fine. That's what a lot of people have called me.
Today we will be talking about a film by one of our favorite directors, Shinya Tsukamoto. That film would, of course, be Tokyo Fist, probably one of his better-known movies, as far as, like...
yeah. I think, like, the ones that have prominent trailers, like that UK company that remastered all of his movies, or helped him remaster all of his movies, it's one of the ones that has, like, a really nice trailer.
If you look at DVD sets of Tetsuo, which is probably his actually, like, most famous movie.
Definitely.
The DVD copy of Tetsuo that I have says from the director of Tokyo Fist. And DVD copies of Tokyo Fist have from the director of Tetsuo on it. So.
Right, that makes sense.
Sick.
That's, yeah.
Quick recap. Suda, a salaryman, is convinced that his wife Hizuru is cheating on him with his childhood friend Kojima. This leads to a feud and eventual boxing match between the two of them, along with the physical and emotional transformation of all three characters. Does that sound about right?
Yep, definitely.
All right, so I figure we would start with the three main characters. That would be Kojima, Hizuru, and Suda.
Suda, yeah.
And going down the line in that order, relatively.
Yeah. So it's really nice trio. They're all explored pretty well. Typical kind of Japanese art house storytelling. Like, nothing's kind of told outright to you. You just get to see these things unfold, right?
Yeah.
So, like, we're never told, like, the main character's kind of a scumbag. You just find out.
Kojima. Kojima is Suda's childhood friend.
Also played by his brother.
Yes, that's actually what I was just about to bring up. Played by Tsukamoto, Shinya Tsukamoto's younger brother. Kojima is the masculine ideal. He is physically fit in comparison to Suda, but he might not be all that ideal is cracked up to be.
Yeah, he's immediately set up to be this kind of invading force into Suda's life.
The first thing he does is pretty much try to fuck with his wife.
But then he almost immediately, even before he starts to de-evolve as a character, becomes the passive agent in that relationship with Suda's wife. Because most of the interactions after that, other than the ones that are directed towards Suda, are from Suda's wife, Hizuru. From Hizuru to Kojima, her kind of like coming onto him really hard, and him just reacting.
So the scene that really sticks out to me with Kojima and Hizuru is, of course, when they actually do end up sleeping together. This is after a lot of the movie has gone by, and any semblance of a relationship that Hizuru and Suda even had is just completely gone.
Yeah.
But she does end up sleeping with Kojima, who just comes off as really needy, this really clingy, and it's such a change from what he has been shown as.
Yeah, it's definitely pathetic. It's so much of it seems to be a front. It's a guise, a mask of this masculinity that he sees once he runs into his friend, you know?
Yeah.
And even when he's interacting with his fellow boxers, they treat him like a pushover. They don't treat him like somebody who's a scary boxer. They treat him like the scumbag who cheats and ducks out of fights. And
and that's what you get when you see that scene where he doesn't do the finishing blow. Like, he has the perfect chance and opportunity, and he just passes it up. That's kind of his character right there. It's just that he doesn't take that finishing blow. He can talk the talk and go part of the way, but when it comes up to that last bit, he just doesn't do it.
It's almost like running into these people gave him the opportunity to try it out, try the overly masculine thing on like a mask. But then as he runs into Hizuru, who is, she's got issues, some serious issues that he was not prepared for.
All of this culminates in his eventual physical transformation at the very end of this movie. Something that gave a makeup artist a good days of work. Like, they were well paid. So.
I hope he got an award. Like,
oh man,
the people like that Tsukamoto works with it's not the same people. It seems to be different people all the time, and that makes sense because the visual effects
there are.
But like in terms of visual effects, like I think he mostly did it himself in Tetsuo 1, Tetsuo 2. He hired people
Tetsuo
on.
1 was
Tetsuo 1 was like the definitive guerrilla film.
Speaking of which, this is much higher budget. This is Tsukamoto film that it has the budget of I want to say average Japanese film around that time.
Yeah, I feel like nicer. A lot of it looked a lot nicer. I think a big part of it was just being able to shoot like all over the city. That's probably where a lot of the money went, which is good because like the shots of Suda in the city, just like in a malaise. This might be a good opportunity to segue into Suda's character.
Oh, I was gonna go with Hizuru and then save.
Suda yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah,
we might as well just go into here now then. Hizuru is played by
the metal fetishist.
Hizuru is played by Kaori Fuji. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who was in the very first two Ju-on the Curse movies, because I need to mention those because I reviewed them recently.
And get it in?
She's also a Tsukamoto regular. So much as Kojima represents the masculine ideal, Hizuru is pretty much the ideal Japanese housewife at the beginning, but clearly doesn't want to be one.
Yeah, she rejects it almost immediately.
The first line in the movie is, "Why don't I start working again?" Which is, to a Japanese salaryman, is like, you can't fucking take care of me, can you? That is complete emasculation.
He's just dead. That's the life of
by the way, that opening scene, or maybe it's one of the scenes after, where it's Hizuru and Suda watching a movie. Do you remember what movie that was? I know you know it. I know you've seen it.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. Movie. Was it Caligari?
No, it was Metropolis.
Was it Metropolis?
It was Metropolis. They have.
Oh, that's right. It was, wasn't it?
The screen with Metropolis is framed right next to Hizuru and Suda. And Suda is taking his usual pose on the couch, which seems to be an often thing between the two of them, where he's just like clinging to the side of her. He's just like holding her, and she's just kind of lying there lifelessly.
Yeah.
And that's almost the perfect juxtaposition, because you have like this robot woman, this object, who within the context of Metropolis is just being used.
Yeah, and I love how he's just like, he looks over, he's like, hey, you want to bang? And she's like, oh. And he's
really.
like, all right, whatever.
And so, as you brought up earlier, her transformation is with
Woo-wee! It escalates a lot.
It starts out very, very like.
Well, it's almost like a coming of age thing. Like she pierces her own ears, like a little bit rebellious.
She gets a tattoo from Tomoto Taguchi, Tetsuo the Iron Man himself, which is foreshadowing, maybe.
Gosh, you know, I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
I like it hadn't even occurred to me, but yeah, thinking about it now, damn.
That first tattoo is immediately like rejection of Japanese society at large, because if you have a tattoo in Japan, you're definitely rebellious, but a lot of times that's associated with being part of like Yakuza or some sort of
isn't
mob,
it also
right?
like, isn't she implied to be from kind of a higher society, wealthy family? Like, it's even worse there.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that, like, the first conversation we see with, like, Suda and stuff, with her and Suda is about money, and it's about how she's not working anymore. And it's kind of implied that, you know, she comes from a little bit more wealth than Suda, which, again, adds into his character's emasculation.
Yeah. Serious self-loathing issues.
She gets the medal, the piercings, and the tattoo and everything. Partway through the film, she takes all that off, and then even goes as far to like say she's going to get a surgery to remove the tattoo. A little while after she takes out the piercings for the first time, she starts to play up the housewife angle with Kojima.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, she's like trying to see if she can balance it out, maybe.
She's playing into that housewife ideal for, I don't know, maybe the first time in the whole movie, where she's not just outright rejecting it. I mean, early on, she's, you know, making dinner and stuff, but she very clearly doesn't want to be this.
Yeah. It's pretty half-hearted.
And there is this, like, search that she has for, like, oh, well, am I this, like, rebellious, piercing person, or am I going to be the housewife for Kojima now? Like, because she's caught in between Kojima and Suda.
I think she realizes around that time she doesn't have a whole lot of agency in this.
Yeah.
She becomes aware of her lack of agency and the fact that she is a tool being used by these two people. For most of the movie, by Kojima, like to kind of jolt his friend back the way he was.
Kojima's attraction to Hizuru is interesting too, because it is at some level a sexual attraction, but in a much larger sense, he is just fucking with her so he can fuck with Suda.
Yeah, it's kind of like Berserk.
'Cause I'm just a girl who can't say no, can't seem to say it at all. I always say, come on, let's go, just when I order, say stop. When a feller wants to kiss a girl, I know she ought to give his face a slap. When a fella starts a-kissing me, I kinda sorta wanna kiss him back.
But at that point, she has kind of an identity crisis, where she goes through all these phases, she takes her piercings out, but then she snaps back hard when it becomes absolutely evident, oh, well, Kojima is absolutely uninterested in me, just been using me so far, and Suda is Suda.
Yep, Suda's Suda. But that leads to one of the more interesting scenes with her, where Suda actually does hit her. She smiles for just the briefest of seconds, and immediately you can tell this is what she wanted, not to literally be hit, but to be treated as an equal.
Look, I'm
Suda.
like you two.
Yeah, because she's being pulled around by both of them. She's caught in the middle, and then finally the Suda, one of the two guys that has been fighting over her, just lashes out and punches her and is not treating her as this like holy object to just fucking worship and cling on to. He's actually just treating her as a person.
Yeah.
But as we see, immediately afterwards, he shrinks back and goes right back to that wall.
In that regard, Suda's just kind of like it was coincidence. It wasn't like he was doing this for her.
He is
again
almost there. He is
yeah
almost there, but he is still very far off.
And this reminds me of another anime, a little thing called Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Ah, yes, the famous boxing scene in that. This final realization that neither of these men really want her. They just want this object that she would be, or at least in Suda's case, right?
It's like a lifestyle tool. You know what? No, she's like literally like a piece of furniture.
Yeah,
right.
And that's kind of why she ends up dressed the way that she is for a lot of those scenes. She's just draped in white, like a piece of furniture you just stick in the corner and ignore. So this leads to her final transformation, where the very last scene of the movie, she is ripping out all of her piercings, and you get that nice, spurt of blood.
Not just ripping them out; she's installed a bunch more, and it's like you see those people at the mall who've made a dedication, a choice to be metal fetishists, what else do you want to call it? It's a good name.
What I was unclear on this scene was whether or not that just represents her literal death in the story. I believe we came to a consensus that more or less that's what was going on, right?
Yeah, I think so, because I think at the end of the day, the snapshot at the end of this film, and we can get into the specifics of this when we start talking about Suda, is two of these characters have died as a result of their changes. One of these characters has had half of him metaphorically removed.
Now we go to our main lead character, Suda, who is
Mr. Shinya Tsukamoto.
Yes, he is of course played by Shinya Tsukamoto himself. The first words that anyone should describe him as is very insecure.
I like it's skipping forward a little bit, but I love the scene in the diner.
Yeah.
My God,
we can start with that. It's early enough.
It's so good. It's like
that is the perfect introduction to who Suda is.
He thinks that she's cheating on him, but she hasn't yet. And he takes her out to dinner. I think he buys her jewelry, right?
Yes, he does buy her a ring.
Yeah, and they go to this nice swanky restaurant, and then he starts going off on her, and don't do this to me.
So it starts off with, "Are you cheating on me with Kojima?" And she's like, "I won't entertain this thought. No, not at all." And she gets up to leave, and he pulls her back, and he's like, "Okay, don't make a scene. Don't make a scene." And then he goes, "Okay, well, forget about Kojima, but that guy a couple months ago, what about him?" And that's when she gets up and gets the fuck out of there.
37!
37. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks.
In a row?
Hey, try not to suck any dick on the way through the parking lot.
And it's less worry about like, oh no,
It's about the image that people will think he is foolish.
Right.
It's all about what people
see
think.
Me.
Right. Because he's just a really selfish individual.
Yeah. That's Suda. That's it's a lot of Shinya Tsukamoto characters at the end of the day.
It's never this explicit though. That's what's interesting. Yeah. Like you get there eventually, but here it's like out and out from the beginning. He's just a scumbag.
Well, that's what makes his transformation so interesting, and that is the major focus of Tokyo Fist is Suda's transformation as he goes from a scrawny salaryman to a killing machine of sorts.
He's becomes a badass boxer.
Yeah.
After some incredible training montages, there's one in particular that's one of my favorites. One of my favorite just like moments. You got to give it to Chu Ishikawa for the soundtrack, where Kojima goes up to the radio. And he's just like, I can't remember if he says let's spar or if he's just like, okay, let's start. He turns it on and it's this drum beat, this like doodly 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 doodly, and it lines up perfectly with people like punching the bag.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It may
Chewy
even
Ishikawa.
be the sound effect of people punching a bag.
It might be, but it's done in such a perfect way. Really, I think this might be Ishikawa's best work.
This music is greatly helped along by Chewy Ishikawa's score.
Yeah.
Getting back to Suda.
Yeah.
The thing about his transformation, he goes from scrawny salaryman to killing machine. In any other movie, this would be seen as a positive thing. This is the Karate
It would be
Kid
Rocky.
plot.
You're right.
It would be Rocky, yeah. This is the typical sports movie plot done in a Tsukamoto film. And I think that's kind of what I love about Tokyo Fist.
It's the Tsukamoto kind of theme, one of them that he has, which is like the internal externalized. So like these insecurities, this anger, the violence, it all causes physical transformations. And then you take the idea of like going to the gym. A lot of people go to the gym just for aesthetics, not even really for performance. And they alter their body through this barbaric, like, you know, and they show it. They show these like this like ritualistic training. Yeah, I don't know. It's really interesting.
They change emotionally as well, which, I mean, gets into this. Like, you have that whole montage where Suda's going to the gym, drinking beer, going back to the gym, not drinking beer and stuff. And it's nice. It's definitely marks his transformation. Suda's a poor guy. He just kind of misses the point in general about a lot of things.
Like, about everything.
He
really
sees Kojima with his wife, immediately blames his wife. He sees Kojima say like, "Oh, I'm doing this to get you, to kick you back into how you're supposed to be."
Well, that's what's interesting is he almost, several times throughout the movie, he almost understands one of the characters.
Yeah.
Like, he almost understands his wife. He almost understands Kojima. The scene where, like, I think he's left the gym and he's just going for a walk. He's going through one of his meandering walks through Tokyo. And he happens upon the place, which we haven't really touched on it yet. The backstory, the thing that made Kojima do what he did.
About that now, as long as we're talking about Suda. So Suda and Kojima, as childhood friends during their school days, had this girl that they both knew. This girl is ambushed by a kind of gang of people and ends up being thrown backwards on like rusty metal pipes in a very Tsukamoto death. Right? Like, that is that's a fucking Tsukamoto death right there.
Flesh pierced by metal. It doesn't really get more.
So her death leads Kojima into training his body to be this boxing machine.
They make like a pinky swear. It's like one of those classic Japanese promises. Like, when we get older, we're going to train up, become boxers. When those guys get out, we're going to beat the hell out of them.
And it never gets back to them.
No, because they're not important.
Thing. Yeah,
they are. I think even Kojima's moved on from them.
He's totally lost sight of whatever goal they had at the beginning, and so has Suda, which is kind of the best parallel, because while Kojima is still saying like, "Oh, you forgot about her, you haven't been doing any of this," he is just as guilty of that. Kojima clearly likes the idea of this noble crusade more than the actual doing it.
Well, it's like any promise like that made in your youth, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's really more important for the personality changes that it brings about than it is for like the literal, like, you say, I want to be a boxer, but does it matter as much that you become a boxer, or does it matter that you get into personal fitness and like that leads you to this, which leads you to this, and so on and so forth?
He is definitely hung up. Whatever idea of this girl was there, and that's why that's why Kojima starts this whole thing with Hizuru, and the whole idea Kojima has about Suda, and what is pretty much the truth, is that Suda has forgotten all this. He looks back on it and just is like, okay, that's the thing that happened. He didn't live up to his end of the promise.
Yeah,
that is accurate. Suda doesn't make any attempt to change himself.
Even less. Like, he was the one who suggested the promise, right? He's the one who poured like oil on his head and was like, "Bleh!"
It's just
Japanese
like that episode of
sounds.
Seinfeld.
And we had a pact, you know. What? You shook my hand in that coffee shop.
You still with the pact?
Mm-hmm. You reneged.
All I did was shake your hand.
By the end, he's let go of Hizuru. He even says, like, okay, there's still a bit of that there, but his, like, words to Kojima is just like, oh yeah, I'm going to give up on her, and I want you to give up on her too. And then they go and do the boxing match, and that is the transformation start. And that whole match is amazing, just the emotional climax of the movie.
The match that Kojima has afterwards doesn't even matter, right?
Yeah.
It's like the match with Suda, which is just a spar, which they have earlier in the movie.
By the end, we get that fantastic trio of sequences. That would be Hizuru with the piercings, Kojima with his fucking ugly mug, and
his ugly, rapidly expanding with blood.
We have Suda getting swallowed up by the bed, by the hospital bed that he's in black and white. It's a really good shot. It's really effective. And at the very end, we see Suda is the only one that has actually made this out, and not entirely unscarred. He has
no, definitely. And I think so. I mentioned it earlier, but my interpretation is like, in a literal sense, in the sparring match, he got hit so hard that one of his eyes just doesn't work anymore. But in a sense, like, he has lost part of himself. He is altered now. Even though he's doing the same thing, it's those shots of him in front of a crowd staring at the camera, kind of, but like it's a little sharper, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. He's very clearly a different person than what he started out as in the beginning.
Yeah.
He's come out the other end, right? And he's come out the other end because he's the only one that is finally changed. The other two end up being stuck in
they couldn't get out of their, whatever you want to call it, their kind of, their dooms. They couldn't escape their dooms. But Suda, like, even though he was kind of damaged, he came out on the other end different than he was. But, like, honestly, it's hard to get worse. The question is, if he lost part of himself and changed, did he come out the violent Suda, or did he come out like some other kind of more peaceful Zen person? It's hard to say.
I would like to believe that it is more positive. However, being a Tsukamoto movie and having a Chu Ishikawa soundtrack, I can totally believe it not being that. So Suda's eventual transformation leaves him, up to the audience's interpretation, more or less.
Yeah.
You could see it in both ways because there's so little we actually know about what took place. What we saw was the event that caused it, right?
Yeah.
That's Tokyo Fist. We covered a lot there. I'm going to briefly mention Nobu Kanaoka was the nurse in Tokyo Fist. She is also the lady in glasses that you see in Tetsuo, the one that chases around.
Oh, yeah.
Character. That's your actor trivia of the day. First topics I'd like to get into here in a broader sense, and I only have a few of them.
Yeah.
Is the brother dynamic. Kojima is literally the younger version of Suda, which is possibly why Suda feels so threatened by him. When you look at it as Kojima is being played by the younger Tsukamoto brother.
Yeah, man. What an inspired choice. I don't know a whole lot about the younger Tsukamoto. I don't know what else he does.
Mainly, I think the only thing anybody knows about him is that he stars in Tsukamoto movies occasionally.
Okay. All right. It's one of those.
He doesn't really have like a whole... He's the Ted Raimi to Tsukamoto's.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Unfortunately.
What? It's not such a bad... You know, like, Ted Raimi gets along. Mostly. He's got kind of weird eyes, but, like, what are you going to do? You're a Raimi. You got to work with what you got.
So there's that whole dynamic, which is an interesting way to look at it. And part of the reason why Suda probably feels so emasculated and threatened by him coming on to Hizuru. I guess within the story they're kind of the same age, but he's
they are. But
fit.
It's even before he comes on to his wife, he feels threatened. Even before he is aware, like he's like, hey, don't let him into our apartment. I don't want him here.
There is that first scene where they meet, and it is a hard cut as soon as they do.
Yeah.
It's just bam, gone. Like that next scene, because Suda doesn't want to be in there.
Yeah, no, he's very uncomfortable, which is maybe just like maybe he looks down upon him. He looks at him and he sees his kind of childish past, and so he's I don't like looking at that. Let's avoid this guy.
Yeah. Tsukamoto, he builds off archetypes. That's not wrong in saying that. And while we've talked to death about these characters, I wouldn't say that he makes characters, actually. I would say that he just breaks the archetypes that these characters are. You know what I'm saying?
They're always very simple and like they're demonstrative, right? They demonstrate an idea. It's kind of mythic.
And that's really what I feel separates Tsukamoto from other directors like some of our other favorites, Sono Shion, Takashi Miike, and the like of that, where they would build characters, especially like you look at something like Love Exposure, and those are characters first and foremost.
4 hours worth of
4
characters.
hours, you gotta have characters. But Tsukamoto, sometimes a Tsukamoto film can feel long, but it is usually very short.
Most of them are about an hour 20.
Some of them,
most of them that I've seen.
Some of them occasionally feel kind of longer than they should, but he keeps them short for a reason, and that's because he hasn't built a character. He's built an archetype, and he's using his time as efficiently as possible most of the time.
What I love about Tsukamoto is even if the movie, what's going on, what the story or the characters are, is a little slow, maybe a little plodding, it's such a feast for the eyes that
he gives you something to
it
look
keeps
at.
you there. Right, yeah. He always gives you something
I don't even think we mentioned the lighting in this movie.
Oh yeah, the kind of haziness and like it's like
Tsukamoto
really
is,
fantastic blues and reds.
Yeah. Tsukamoto is primarily known for his black and white movies, all 2 of them.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Like 2 major black and white movies, and that's what he is mainly known for. But they're 2 of his best movies.
But when he uses color, and that is most of the time.
Yeah.
When he really uses it,
what we're saying is he's a good director.
Yes, he knows how to set up a good shot. Let's start to wrap things up here. Tokyo Fist is a fantastic movie. One of Shinya Tsukamoto's best.
Definitely.
Shinya Tsukamoto is such a unique director that sometimes it feels unfair to call him the David Lynch of Japan, because he really is his own thing.
Yeah. He's got a lot of contemporaries, a lot of peers that you could compare him to, and yet he is incomparable in a lot of ways.
So with that being said, thanks for watching the video. I'm gonna do a little outro and possibly intro on my own. So this is where we will leave you off, Aaron. Say goodbye to the people here.
Goodbye, my people. Perhaps we shall meet again.
So if you made it to the end of this video, I would first like to thank you for viewing this pilot episode. Secondly, I want to mention that it's not going to be the same co-host here every week. I've already got a few more things with Aaron in it that I'm going to post here. Later on, I would like to have a wider array of people here. So in the future, I may put out a video for anybody that might be interested in doing something like this. As I said at the beginning of the video, if there's any comments or critique you have for this, please leave it down in the comments. And I just want to say again, thanks for sticking through this whole thing. This is probably the longest video I have put up on this channel so far. We'll see how quickly it takes for that to change. That's it for now.